Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Bobby Yun, and let's queer up the USA view. Texas House votes to repeal outdated anti-gay law. Texas is finally taking a step toward repealing one of the country's most outdated and anti-LGBTQ laws. The Texas House of Representatives voted to repeal the state's 1973 homosexual conduct law, a statute that criminalized gay sex as, quote, deviate sexual intercourse with another individual of the same sex, end quote. Though the law was ruled unenforceable by the U.S. Supreme Court in Lawrence versus Texas back in 2003, it has shamefully remained on the books, a symbol of stigma and discrimination. For years, Republicans in Texas have refused to act. The state's GOP platform still labels gay people as abnormal. Now, a historic shift is underway. House Bill 1738, authored by out-gay Democrat Venton Jones of House District 100, passed with bipartisan support. 12 Republicans joined 60 Democrats in favor, while 55 lawmakers voted against it. Jones said, today the Texas House voted to repeal the state's unconstitutional homosexual conduct law for the first time in history. He added, quote, HB 1738 is now headed to the Texas Senate, where it will be sponsored by Senators Jose Menendez and Molly Cook. We look forward to our colleagues in the Senate finishing what is long overdue and finally removing this discriminatory law from our books once and for all, end quote. With a June 2nd deadline looming, it's still unclear if the Senate will act in time or whether Governor Greg Abbott will sign it. For the LGBTQ community in Texas and across the U.S., the bill's passage in the House marks a long overdue recognition that dignity is not up for debate. I want to, since I'm the first one to comment, I want to just put this in context. So the anti-homosexual law in Texas is literally what triggered what the lawsuits and eventually overturn of all anti-sodomy laws with Lawrence versus Texas. And of course, there are still multiple states. I believe last time I checked, it's 9 states, including Florida, that still have anti-gay laws on gay laws such as this on the books. In fact, there's been some police departments in certain parts of Florida where they put out sting operations to arrest gay men who will, agree to intercourse with someone who is a undercover police officer. Anyways, the reason why this is now an urgent thing is that the conservative majority of Supreme Court, or actually more specifically, Alito and Thomas, has been advocating to overturn all previously pro-LGBTQ court rulings, including the right to marry, which is in 2015, and 2003, Lawrence versus Texas. They want to drag us back, to make us invisible, to make us another suppressed minority so that they can fly the Christian nationalist flags up high in front of the Supreme Court and think that's their religion rules over us all. I actually am surprised. I would surprise if Governor Hart will sign it. To be honest with you, I think he was going to veto it so that he can bounce it back and take another year and just keep repeating it.
Well, I hope that their Senate looks at it. One of my big fears with Democrats and politicians in general is they love to pass something in one house to pretend they're moving it somewhere, and then the other chamber, for some reason, doesn't move it. And I'm like, that's not progress. That's just smoke and mirrors. Hopefully that's not the case today. I will say on the legal issue of the court striking down marriage equality and Lawrence v. Texas, legally, I don't see how you can uphold it because they were based, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is they were based on Roe v. Wade and the right to privacy. When you take women's rights away, you can't have gay rights anymore. So, we're all tied together in that sort of stuff.
But, I mean, it could also be argued as a discrimination based on sex, and Gorsuch in the Bostock ruling would say that, sex is under Title VII, includes sexual orientation and gender identity.
I would argue forcing a woman to carry a child to term is also a form of sexism.
I think it's a nice step they're trying to take to repeal this law. Before I moved to Florida, choices were Florida, Texas. Lesser of two evils, I moved to Florida. Just as crazy. So it's nice to see there's some steps toward it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that Austin is such a fucking beautiful liberal part of the state. How that ended up being the capital is amazing. So I hope this does go through.
I mean,
my little brother used to live in Austin. It's a beautiful city. One thing I will say about this as well, there has been some polling out of Texas. Republicans might be voting on this because they're afraid right now. It looks like the Democrats might actually win something statewide. I know it's always a mirage with Texas, but the data this time is looking very positive.
Well, I say thank God for someone like Venton Jones, who took the time to author this and had the courage to do this in a red state. Hopefully, I think with all the transiency in our country right now, I think there are a lot of people moving to Texas, that hopefully there's a more metropolitan and sophisticated, educated demographic that will influence the future of Texas in a positive way for our community.
Well, unfortunately, one of the biggest corporations to have moved to Austin, Texas is Tesla. And they came with Elon Musk and his cronies from Doge. So I don't know how blue it will be any longer in Austin. But, I mean, state capitals being refuges for progressivists.
Well, Bobby, I assure you the state of Texas is much larger than any demographic change that Tesla alone could do. I'm sorry, Elon, you're just too tiny.
And we love your daughter. She's amazing.
And your cars suck. Okay, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer non-profit media platforms like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.